Most people think discipline is some kind of punishment. No, no, no. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It's doing what needs to be done even when the mood isn't right, the situation isn't perfect, and you don't feel like doing it. Let me tell you something profound. Everything worthwhile in life exacts a price, and the price is always paid in advance. Good things come to those who understand this principle. The difference between successful people and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack of will. I used to wonder why some people achieve so much while others with the same opportunities accomplish so little. After studying success for over 40 years, I can tell you with certainty that self-discipline is the magic key that unlocks the door to achievement, happiness, and wealth. Now, I didn't always understand this. I grew up on a farm in Idaho. We didn't have much. My father used to say, "Jim, there are only two things we can't afford in this family. We can't afford to be late, and we can't afford to be disrespectful." That was my first lesson in discipline. Those humble beginnings taught me that it's not what happens to you that determines your future, it's what you do about it. So many people say, if I had a better job, or if I had more money, or if I had a different spouse, they're always waiting for their circumstances to change. But let me share a little secret with you. Your life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. And that change begins with self-discipline. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Which would you rather carry? Now let's get practical about how to develop this master skill. I'm going to share with you 7 key strategies that will help you master the art of self-discipline. And I promise you, if you implement these into your life, you'll see dramatic changes within 90 days. First, you must define your purpose. Without purpose, discipline has no direction. I often ask people, "What do you want?" And they look at me with blank stares. "Well, I'm not sure," they say. "How can you hit a target you haven't even set?" You can't. I remember talking to a young man once who said he wanted to be successful. I asked him, "And in doing what?" He hadn't thought about it. He just wanted success, whatever that meant. Don't make that mistake. Be specific. Write down exactly what you want to accomplish. What areas of your life need more discipline? Your health, your finances, your relationships, your career? Get crystal clear. Your purposes must be so deeply entrenched in your mind and heart that they become your driving force. They must be so compelling that they pull you forward even on days when you don't feel motivated. Now, here's something few people understand. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. And habit is built through disciplined, consistent action. Let's talk about your daily disciplines. These are the small actions that, compounded over time, create massive results. Small disciplines repeated with consistency every day lead to great achievements gained slowly over time. I'm reminded of the story of the Chinese bamboo tree. For the first 4 years after being planted, you see nothing but a tiny shoot coming out of the ground. All the growth is happening underground where you can't see it. And then in the 5th year, the bamboo tree grows up to 80 feet in just 6 weeks. But it didn't really grow 80 feet in 6 weeks. It took 5 years. It's the same with self-discipline. You may not see results immediately, but don't be deceived. Keep watering your disciplines every day. One of the best disciplines you can develop is the discipline of continuous learning. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. I recommend reading at least 30 minutes every day. The books you don't read won't help you. If you read just 1 book per month, that puts you in the top 1% of all people in personal development. Imagine what reading 1 book per week would do. I read the Bible and think about it. I read good books and think about them. I attend seminars and think about what I learned. And all of this thinking helps me develop philosophies, ideas that guide my life and decisions. Your personal philosophy is the greatest determining factor in how your life works out. Now let me ask you something. How many hours do you spend watching television each week? The average American watches over 30 hours of TV weekly. What if you invested just half that time in reading, learning, planning, and thinking? You would be unstoppable. The second key to mastering self-discipline is managing your emotions. Emotions are powerful, but they make terrible masters. Self-discipline means doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. Here's what I discovered years ago. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can control what you do about it. You can't always control your circumstances, but you can control your response. That's where your power lies. Some days you won't feel like exercising. Some days you won't feel like saving instead of spending. Some days you won't feel like having that difficult conversation. Discipline says do it anyway. I often think about how easy it is to let our emotions dictate our actions. But emotions are like the weather. They change constantly. If you allow your feelings to determine your actions, you'll never develop consistency. Let me share a personal example. When I was younger, I struggled with my weight. I loved eating whatever I wanted, but one day I realized that my health was declining, and if I didn't change, I might not be around to see my grandchildren grow up. That was unacceptable to me. So I developed a simple philosophy: nothing tastes as good as health feels. Now, did I always feel like eating healthy? Of course not, but I disciplined myself to make better choices regardless of my cravings. And you know what? Over time, my taste actually changed. What used to be difficult became easier. That's the power of disciplined habits. The third key to mastering self-discipline is designing your environment for success. Your environment often determines your behavior. If you want to eat healthier, don't keep junk food in your house. If you want to save money, don't go window shopping at the mall. If you want to be more productive, turn off notifications on your phone. Most people underestimate the influence of their surroundings, but the truth is willpower alone is insufficient. You need to structure your environment to support your goals. I once coached a gentleman who complained he couldn't stick to his morning workout routine. When we dug deeper, I discovered he kept his phone right next to his bed. The first thing he did each morning was check his messages and emails. Before he knew it, an hour had passed and he had to rush to get ready for work, no time for exercise. My advice: put your phone in another room when you sleep. Set out your workout clothes the night before. Make it easier to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing. That's intelligent self-discipline. Now, the fourth principle, and this is vital, is developing daily rituals. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. The difference between success and failure is actually quite small. It's the compound effect of daily choices that leads to drastically different outcomes. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't feel particularly motivated to do it each morning and night, but you do it anyway because it's a ritual. You don't even think about it. What if your health habits, your saving habits, your some learning habits were just as automatic? Start small. Don't try to change everything at once. I suggest focusing on one new discipline each quarter. Master it until it becomes automatic, then add another. By year's end, you'll have 4 new powerful habits working for you. One of my favorite daily rituals is what I call my power hour. Every morning I spend 20 minutes reading, 20 minutes planning my day, and 20 minutes exercising. This single hour sets the tone for my entire day and has been transformative in my life. What disciplines could you turn into daily rituals? Maybe it's making your bed first thing in the morning. Maybe it's drinking a large glass of water before breakfast. Maybe it's reviewing your goals before you check your email. These small actions don't require much time, but the cumulative effect is extraordinary. The fifth key to mastering self-discipline is accountability. Find someone who will hold your feet to the fire. Tell people about your commitments. It's easy to break promises to yourself. It's much harder to explain to others why you didn't follow through. In my seminars, I often have people pair up as accountability partners. They exchange phone numbers and check in with each other regularly. The results are always remarkable. One gentleman lost 47 pounds in 6 months, simply because he knew his partner would ask him about his eating and exercise habits each week. You see, we all have blind spots. We all rationalize our behavior. Having someone who will speak truth to you with love, but without compromise, is invaluable. Consider joining a mastermind group or hiring a coach. The investment will pay dividends far beyond what you spend. As the saying goes, when performance is measured, performance improves. When performance is measured and reported, the rate of improvement accelerates. The sixth principle for mastering self-discipline is delayed gratification. This might be the most important and least practiced discipline in America today. We live in a society that promotes instant gratification. Buy now, pay later, lose 30 pounds in 30 days. Get rich quick. But everything valuable takes time. The ability to delay pleasure in the short term for a greater reward in the long term is the hallmark of maturity. I often use this metaphor: life is like seasons. There's a time to plant and a time to harvest. Too many people want to harvest what they haven't planted. They want the rewards without the work, the gain without the pain. But it doesn't work that way. You must plant in the spring so you can harvest in the fall. You must put in the effort today to enjoy the results tomorrow. One of my early mentors told me something I never forgot. He said, "Jim, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom." That advice changed my life. Instead of complaining about difficulties, I started developing myself to handle them. That's what self-discipline is all about, becoming bigger than your challenges. The discipline of saving is a perfect example of delayed gratification. When you save money instead of spending it immediately, you're sacrificing instant pleasure for future security and opportunity. Most Americans live paycheck to paycheck not because they don't earn enough, but because they lack the discipline to live on less than they make. I recommend saving at least 10% of your income. Pay yourself first. If you wait until you've paid all your bills to save, there will never be anything left. But if you save first, you'll adjust your lifestyle to live on what remains. The same principle applies to your health. The discipline of regular exercise and proper nutrition isn't always pleasant in the moment, but the long-term benefits are immeasurable. Would you rather enjoy that extra piece of cake now and suffer poor health later, or discipline yourself now and enjoy vitality as you age? The choice is yours, but remember, the pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. The seventh and final key to mastering self-discipline is forgiveness, specifically forgiving yourself when you fall short. Because you will fall short. We all do. Self-discipline isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's not what you do once in a while, it's what you do day after day that shapes your life. When you make a mistake, when you sleep through your alarm, or break your diet, or miss a deadline, don't waste time beating yourself up. Acknowledge the failure, learn from it, and get back on track immediately. I've seen so many people abandon their goals because of one setback. They miss a workout, so they quit exercising altogether. They splurge on an unnecessary purchase, so they abandon their budget completely. Don't fall into that trap. Progress isn't a straight line. It's more like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The key is to make sure you're taking more steps forward than backward. Now let me address something important. Developing self-discipline isn't about becoming rigid or joyless. Quite the opposite. True discipline leads to freedom. When you master yourself, you free yourself from the tyranny of impulses and short-term thinking. You gain the freedom to create the life you truly want rather than settling for momentary pleasures. Think about it. The most disciplined people I know are also among the happiest. Well, because they have confidence in themselves. They know they can rely on themselves to do what they say they'll do. There's tremendous satisfaction in that kind of integrity. Also, disciplined people experience the deep fulfillment that comes from achievement. They set meaningful goals and systematically work toward them. Each small win builds momentum and contributes to a life of purpose. I want to emphasize something here. Self-discipline isn't just about restriction, it's about direction. It's not primarily about saying no to things, it's about saying yes to better things. It's not about limitation, it's about liberation. When you develop self-discipline, you're not restricting your life, you're expanding your possibilities. You're trading short-term comfort for long-term fulfillment. You're exchanging the good for the best. Let me share with you one of the most profound insights I've gained over the years. Success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become, and becoming requires discipline. If you want to have more, you must become more. If you want things, you must change. If you want things to get better, you must get better. This is where so many people get it wrong. They think they need to chase success, but what they really need is to develop themselves. Self-discipline is the fundamental tool for this development. It's how you transform potential into reality, dreams into achievements, and goals into accomplishments. Now, I want to address a common obstacle to self-discipline, the influence of others. Jim Rohn, that's me, is famous for saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This isn't just a clever saying, it's a profound truth. Look around at your closest associates. Are they disciplined? Do they challenge you to grow? Or do they enable your excuses and reinforce your limitations? This is a difficult truth to confront, but sometimes you need to distance yourself from certain people if you're serious about personal growth. I'm not suggesting you abandon family or true friends, but you might need to expand your circle to include those who inspire and challenge you. Seek out mentors, people who are where you want to be. Read their books, listen to their talks, attend their seminars. If possible, find ways to interact with them directly. One insight from the right mentor can save you years of trial and error. Remember, it's hard to soar with eagles when you're scratching with turkeys. Your environment includes not just your physical surroundings, but also your social circle. Both profoundly impact your ability to maintain self-discipline. Let's talk about another dimension of self-discipline, the management of your thoughts. This might be the most challenging area of all because thoughts are invisible and seemingly automatic. But make no mistake, you can discipline your thinking. Watch the tapes you play in your head. Many people sabotage themselves with negative self-talk. I can't do this. This is too hard. I've always been this way. These thoughts become self-fulfilling prophecies. Replace these limiting beliefs with empowering ones. I can figure this out. Every master was once a disaster. It's difficult but doable. I'm getting better every day. Your mind is like a garden. You can allow weeds to grow unchecked, or you can deliberately plant and tend the seeds you want to flourish. This requires constant vigilance. Negative thoughts will sprout, that's inevitable, but you don't have to let them take root. I practice what I call thought interruption. When I catch myself thinking in ways that don't serve me, I consciously redirect my focus. I might say aloud, cancel that, and then replace the thought with something constructive. It feels awkward at first, but with practice it becomes natural. Words are powerful tools for disciplining your thoughts. The language you use both internally and externally shapes your reality. That's why I'm so careful about the words I choose. I don't say I'll try, I say I will. I don't talk about problems, I talk about challenges and opportunities. I don't focus on what I can't control, I focus on what I can influence. This isn't mere positive thinking, it's strategic thinking. It's disciplining your mind to process reality in ways that empower rather than discourage you. Now, there's another aspect of self-discipline that doesn't get enough attention, the discipline of rest and renewal. Sustainable self-discipline isn't about driving yourself relentlessly until you burn out. It's about working with the natural rhythms of energy and recovery. Even the most disciplined person can't maintain peak performance indefinitely without breaks. The key is to make rest and renewal intentional rather than collapsing from exhaustion. I schedule regular times for reflection, relaxation, and recreation. These aren't indulgences, they're investments in my continued productivity and creativity. Without them, my discipline would eventually deteriorate into rigid, joyless effort. Think of it like breathing. There's a rhythm of exertion and recovery, output and input. You can't breathe out continuously, you also need to breathe in. Similarly, you can't constantly produce without taking time to replenish your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual resources. This brings me to an important point about self-discipline. It must be holistic. Many people are disciplined in one area of life but completely undisciplined in others. They might be incredibly focused at work but neglect their health. Or they might be disciplined about exercise but chaotic with their finances. True mastery of self-discipline means applying these principles across all dimensions of your life. It means understanding that these areas are interconnected. Physical health affects mental clarity. Financial stress impacts relationships. Spiritual emptiness undermines professional purpose. I recommend conducting a regular self-audit. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in key life areas: health, wealth, relationships, personal development, career, and contribution to others. Where are you strong? Where do you need improvement? This assessment will help you allocate your disciplinary efforts more effectively. Let me share something personal with you. Years ago, I was doing well financially and professionally, but my health was suffering. I was overweight, sedentary, and eating poorly. I told myself I was too busy building my career to focus on fitness. But that was just an excuse. The truth was, I lacked discipline in this area. When I finally committed to change, I applied the same principles that had made me successful in business: clear goals, consistent action, accountability, and delayed gratification. The results transformed not just my body, but also my energy, confidence, and overall quality of life. I realized then that we can't compartmentalize discipline. It's a character trait that should permeate every aspect of our existence. Now, I want to address a question many people ask me: Jim, how long does it take to develop self-discipline? My answer might surprise you. It takes both less time and more time than you think. On one hand, you can begin practicing discipline immediately. You can make a better choice right now. You don't need any special equipment or training to start. In that sense, the journey begins in an instant with a decision. On the other hand, mastering self-discipline is a lifelong pursuit. I'm still working at it every day, and I've been at this for decades. There's always room for refinement, always another level to reach. The good news is that it gets easier with practice. As you build your discipline muscles, tasks that once seemed impossible become manageable, even automatic. What required tremendous willpower initially eventually becomes second nature. This is because of a fascinating aspect of human psychology. We tend to act in accordance with our identity. If you see yourself as a disciplined person, you'll naturally make choices that align with that self-image. So don't just practice disciplined behaviors. Begin to see yourself as someone who values and embodies discipline. Say to yourself, I am self-disciplined. I do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. Your actions will gradually conform to this new identity. I want to emphasize something crucial. Self-discipline isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. You won't make the right choice every single time, and that's okay. What matters is your overall pattern of behavior. If you're disciplined 80% of the time, you're doing exceptionally well. Focus on progress, not perfection. Celebrate your wins, learn from your slip-ups, and keep moving forward. I've worked with thousands of people over the years, and I've noticed that many start with enthusiasm but falter when they don't see immediate results. They exercise for a week and don't lose weight. They read a book and don't become experts. They save for a month and don't get rich. This impatience is the enemy of discipline. You must understand that meaningful change takes time. The magic is in the compound effect, small, consistent actions multiplied by time. Think about it this way. If you improve just 1% each day, you'll be 37 times better after a year. That's the power of compound growth, but it requires patience and faith in the process. I often use the analogy of water heating up. When you put a pot of water on the stove, nothing seems to happen for a long time. The temperature rises from 70 degrees to 80, 90, 100, 110, yet the water remains water. But at 212 degrees, everything changes. The water boils and produces steam, and steam can power engines. Your discipline works the same way. You might not see dramatic changes at first, but if you persist, you'll eventually reach your boiling point, that moment when transformation becomes visible and your efforts generate momentum. Another challenge many face is what I call decision fatigue. Every time you make a choice, you deplete your mental energy. By the end of a day filled with decisions, your self-control is diminished. That's why habits and routines are so valuable. They reduce the number of decisions you need to make. When behaviors become automatic, they don't drain your willpower. Consider creating if-then plans for common situations. If it's 6 a.m., then I exercise. If I get paid, then I put 10% into savings. If I feel the urge to procrastinate, then I work for just 5 minutes. These pre-commitments bypass the decision-making process and activate behaviors directly. Now, I'd like to share what I consider the highest level of self-discipline, the discipline of attitude. This transcends specific behaviors and affects everything you do. Your attitude, your perspective, your outlook, your response to life's challenges is ultimately a choice. And choosing a positive, proactive attitude requires tremendous discipline, especially in difficult circumstances. Anyone can be positive when everything's going well. The real test comes when you face setbacks, criticism, and disappointment. That's when discipline matters most. I choose to see problems as opportunities for growth. I choose to find the lesson in every failure. I choose to focus on what I can control rather than what I cannot. These aren't easy choices. They require constant vigilance and effort, but they're liberating. When you master the discipline of attitude, you become unstoppable. External circumstances lose their power over you. You respond rather than react. You choose rather than comply. You lead your life instead of being led by events. The next time you face a challenge, ask yourself, what's good about this? What can I learn here? How can I turn this to my advantage? These questions redirect your focus and engage your problem-solving faculties rather than your complaining faculties. Remember, it's not what happens to you that determines your destiny. It's how you respond to what happens. And your response is always within your control. I want to emphasize an important point about self-discipline. It's not about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. It's about excellence in the fundamentals. Many people look for complex solutions to their problems when the answer is usually simple, not easy, but simple. Eat less, move more. Spend less, save more. Work smarter, complain less. These aren't complicated concepts, but they require disciplined execution. I often say, don't major in minor things. Focus your disciplinary efforts on the vital few actions that produce the majority of results. In any endeavor, about 20% of your activities generate 80% of your outcomes. Identify that crucial 20% and become rigorously disciplined in those areas. For health, it might be consistent sleep, proper hydration, regular exercise, and whole foods. For wealth, it might be living below your means, eliminating debt, consistent saving, and prudent investing. For relationships, it might be active listening, expressing appreciation, quality time, and keeping commitments. Master these fundamentals through daily discipline, and everything else tends to fall into place. Now, I want to address an objection I often hear, but Jim, doesn't all this discipline take the spontaneity and joy out of life? My answer is emphatically no. In fact, the opposite is true. Discipline doesn't restrict freedom, it creates it. Think about it. The person who has saved diligently has the freedom to retire early or change careers. The person who has maintained their health has the freedom to remain active in their later years. The person who has developed their skills has the freedom to pursue meaningful work. Discipline is the price you pay for these freedoms, and it's a bargain at any cost. Moreover, there's a deep satisfaction that comes from mastering yourself, from knowing that you're in control, not your impulses or circumstances. This inner mastery produces a quiet confidence that no external achievement can match. As we begin to wrap up, I want to leave you with a challenge. Start today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect today. Right now. Choose one area where you need more discipline. Define exactly what you want to accomplish. Break it down into daily actions, set up accountability, and commit to 90 days of consistent effort. Why 90 days? Because that's roughly how long it takes to establish a habit. By the end of that period, what initially required conscious discipline will have become more automatic. Don't try to overhaul your entire life at once. That's a recipe for overwhelming failure. Instead, focus on one significant change, what I call your lead domino. This is the habit that, once established, will make other positive changes easier. If you're not sure where to start, I suggest the discipline of early rising. Getting up just 1 hour earlier gives you 365 extra hours per year. That's 9 40-hour work weeks. Imagine what you could accomplish with that additional time. Use this hour for what I call the morning miracle exercise, reading, planning, meditation, or creative work. This single discipline creates momentum that carries throughout your day. Whatever you choose, remember this, discipline always seems difficult until you experience the rewards. Then it becomes a pleasure rather than a burden. I want to emphasize something important. Self-discipline isn't just about personal benefit. When you master yourself, you increase your capacity to serve others. You have more to give, more energy, more resources, more wisdom, more time. The world needs disciplined people. Families need disciplined leaders. Communities need disciplined contributors. Businesses need disciplined innovators. Your discipline or lack thereof affects everyone around you. Think about the legacy you're creating. What example are you setting for the next generation? What impact are you having on your circle of influence? The ripple effects of your daily disciplines extend far beyond your own life. This understanding adds purpose and meaning to your efforts. It's not just about you anymore, it's about your contribution to others. And that perspective can provide powerful motivation on days when your personal resolve wavers. As I close, let me share one final thought. The greatest satisfaction in life comes not from what you get, but from what you become. And what you become is determined largely by your disciplines. Every choice you make is shaping your character, developing your capabilities, and defining your destiny. Through the power of self-discipline, you're literally creating yourself day by day, choice by choice, action by action. Few people fully appreciate this truth. They drift through life, buffeted by circumstances and controlled by impulses, never realizing the creative power they possess through disciplined living. But you're different. You're here because you want more achievement, more fulfillment, more impact. And the path to more begins with mastering yourself. So I challenge you to become a student of discipline. Study it, practice it, refine it. Make it your lifelong pursuit, because discipline truly is the bridge between who you are and who you can become. The journey won't always be easy. There will be days when you falter, when you question whether it's worth the effort. In those moments, remember why you started, remember the person you're becoming. Remember the example you're setting, and remember the legacy you're creating. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pride of accomplishment lasts forever. The effort is momentary, but the benefits endure for a lifetime. You have greatness within you. Self-discipline is how you bring it out, so start today. Take that first step. Make that first choice. Begin the journey toward mastery, not just of your circumstances, but of yourself. Thank you for allowing me to share these thoughts with you. Now go forth and become all that you're capable of being. The world is waiting for your contribution.